There comes a moment in every person's journey where transformation becomes not a choice, but a necessity. Growth demands sacrifice, elevation demands evolution, and if you are to become the person you were truly meant to be, then your old self must die. Yes, the version of you that doubts, that delays, that fears, that stays stuck in comfort. That version cannot carry the weight of your future. You cannot climb the mountain of destiny with baggage of your past tied to your ankles. It's time to let go. Too often we cling to habits that have expired, mindsets that have limited us, and environments that suffocate our spirit. We fear the unknown, yet it's in the unknown where transformation lies. The old self is familiar, it plays it safe, it whispers lies of comfort, it makes excuses, but the new you takes action, owns responsibility, seeks truth, and steps into power. But here's the hard truth: the death of the old self is painful. It means shedding relationships, releasing toxic patterns, and walking through fire alone. It means unlearning years of programming, breaking cycles passed down by generations, and facing parts of yourself you've tried to bury. But it is only through this internal death that you are reborn. Stronger, sharper, realigned. Don't wait for the world to give you permission. Kill the ego, bury the self. Doubt, burn the comfort zone to ashes. And from those ashes, rise, not just as a better version of who you were, but as someone unrecognizable, someone reborn by choice, not chance, because your future, your abundance, your power, they don't live in who you are today. They live in who you are willing to become. Transformation doesn't begin with action. It begins with discomfort. True change is not born in places of ease, but in the tension between who you are and who you are meant to be. Comfort zones are invisible prisons. They convince you that safety is more valuable than purpose. But purpose never lives in the realm of safety. It lives in the unknown, in the risky, in the stretch. To grow into the person who fulfills their destiny, you must first recognize that comfort is the enemy of transformation. When you remain in comfort, you avoid challenge. You say no to the unknown because you're afraid of failing, falling, or even succeeding. But what if success demands you to lose everything familiar? What if the price of a breakthrough is the breakdown of the identity you've clung to for years? Staying comfortable may keep you from pain, but it also keeps you from power. Transformation only occurs when comfort is sacrificed at the altar of growth. The human mind is designed to seek familiarity. It's wired for patterns, predictability, and ease. That's why you stay in routines, even when they don't serve you. But your next level won't be built from recycled comfort. It will be built from courageous discomfort. The process of transformation will stretch you. It will force you to confront your laziness, your procrastination, your excuses. These must all die if your higher self is to be born. Comfort is seductive. It whispers lies like "this is good enough," or "maybe later," or "what if it doesn't work?" But these whispers become chains. They trap your potential in the illusion of security. If you truly want to change your life, you must stop feeding the voice that keeps you small. Burn the script that says you are not ready. Ready is not a feeling, it's a decision. And the moment you decide, comfort loses its power. Look at nature. Every transformation involves discomfort. The seed must crack open before it becomes a tree. The caterpillar must dissolve before it becomes a butterfly. The snake must shed its skin to keep growing. You too must be willing to break, dissolve, and shed. The old skin of your comfort, the job that drains you, the people who hold you back, the thoughts that keep you still, must fall away if you are to rise into something new. Many people wish for transformation, but they don't want the discomfort that comes with it. They want results without the sacrifice, change without the cost, but real transformation asks everything from you. It demands discipline when you want to relax. It demands persistence when quitting feels easier. It demands you to walk alone when no one else understands your vision. And most of all, It demands you to leave behind the comfort that has kept you stuck. You will not become extraordinary while living an ordinary life. Extraordinary results require extraordinary discomfort. It's in that space, the space where most people turn back, that you find your true strength. When you begin to feel uncomfortable, afraid, stretched, and unsure, that's your sign. You're stepping into transformation. That's your sign that the old self is starting to die, and the new self is beginning to breathe. There is no shortcut around this, no hack, no trick, no bypass. You must pass through the fire of discomfort. It's not meant to destroy you, it's meant to forge you. It burns away the distractions, the laziness, the fake versions of yourself. It reveals your essence. If you want to know what you're really made of, step into discomfort and stay there until it changes you. The people who transform their lives are not the most talented. They are the most willing to endure discomfort. They show up when it's hard. They keep going when it's scary. They risk looking foolish. They dare to be misunderstood. Why? Because they understand that comfort is not the goal. Becoming is. And to become, they must first die to who they've been. So take inventory of your comfort zones. What are you tolerating? What are you clinging to? What are you refusing to release because it feels safe? Those things are your anchors, and until you cut them loose, you will never soar. You must choose, remain comfortable and stagnant, or embrace discomfort and transform. The path of transformation is not easy, but it is necessary, and it begins the moment you decide that the death of comfort is worth the birth of greatness. Every human being is born with potential, but not every human being fulfills it. Why? Because most never question the beliefs they've inherited, absorbed, or accepted. A limiting belief is not just a negative thought. It's a mental prison that shapes your decisions, your identity, and your destiny. You cannot rise while still chained to beliefs that shrink your power. You must let go, not gently, completely. Limiting beliefs often disguise themselves as truths. They sound like I'm not good enough. I wasn't born for this. It's too late. Or people like me don't succeed. These are not facts. They are opinions formed from pain, fear, and past experiences. But when repeated enough, they become the operating system of your life. They shape how much money you think you can earn, how much love you believe you deserve, and how far you're willing to go. These beliefs often come from early childhood, planted by parents, teachers, society, or trauma. You may have been told to play it safe, to be realistic, to not dream too big. You may have witnessed failure and internalized it as destiny. But someone else's limitation is not your identity. Their story is not your blueprint. You must rewrite your own script, even if it means unlearning everything you were ever taught to believe. Letting go of limiting beliefs begins with awareness. You must become conscious of your inner dialogue, the thoughts that run in the background when you're alone, afraid, or facing a challenge. Every time you say, "I can't," ask yourself, is that the truth or just a belief I've accepted without proof? Most of the time, it's the latter. The belief was installed, but here's the powerful truth. What can be installed can be uninstalled. When you hold onto limiting beliefs, you build a ceiling above your life. You box in your own greatness. You never take the leap because you've convinced yourself you'll fall. You never speak your truth because you believe you'll be rejected. You never go all, and because a voice in your head says you're not worthy. These beliefs don't protect you, they sabotage you, and every day you continue to carry them, you delay your evolution. To release these chains, you must confront them, drag them into the light, ask, where did this belief come from? Who gave it to me? Why do I still carry it? What has it cost me? The moment you ask those questions with honesty, the illusion begins to crack. You realize that what you thought was a wall was just a shadow. And when you step through it, you step into possibility. Reprogramming your beliefs doesn't happen overnight. It requires intention, repetition, and sometimes destruction. You must destroy the old to build the new. Speak affirmations even when your mind doubts. Surround yourself with people who reflect your future, not your past. Read new truths. Feed your mind with thoughts that stretch you, not shrink you. The garden of your mind only blooms when you rip out the weeds. Remember, belief creates behavior. If you believe you're capable, you act accordingly. If you believe you're limited, you shrink. So your outer world will always reflect your inner belief system. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you believe you're worthy of. That's why you must uproot every false belief that says you're not enough. That belief is a lie, and your life is too valuable to be ruled by lies. There's no growth without belief. You can have all the tools, resources, and strategies, but if your beliefs say you don't deserve it, you'll sabotage yourself every time. You'll find ways to fail. You'll talk yourself out of action. You'll choose comfort over courage. But once you shift your beliefs, everything changes. Suddenly, risk becomes exciting, failure becomes feedback, and the impossible becomes inevitable. The death of your old self begins with the death of your old beliefs. You must bury the stories that have kept you stuck, and as you do, you'll uncover a new identity, a version of you that believes in miracles, expects abundance, and walks in confidence. That version has been buried under the rubble of lies for too long. It's time to dig it out, because your future depends not on what you do, but what you believe is possible. You cannot create a new reality while dragging old habits into it. Your habits are the invisible architecture of your life. They shape your identity, your energy, your choices, and ultimately your future. If your current habits were enough to build the life you dream of, you'd already be living it. So understand this clearly. Old habits must die if a new life is to be born. Many people set new goals while maintaining the same routines that sabotaged them in the past. They want breakthrough without behavioral change, but a new destination requires a new vehicle. And old habits are like a rusted car stuck in reverse. They'll pull you back every time you try to move forward. You can't outdream your discipline, and you can't transform your life without transforming your behavior. Habits are not just actions, they are affirmations. Every time you hit snooze instead of rising early, you affirm that comfort is more important than commitment. Every time you scroll aimlessly instead of working on your vision, you affirm that distraction is stronger than your desire. These daily decisions seem small, but they stack. Over time, they create momentum, either toward growth or toward regret. Old habits survive because they are familiar, easy, and emotionally rewarding in the short term. But long-term rewards demand short-term sacrifices. The problem is, your brain is wired to seek pleasure now, not purpose later. That's why so many people stay stuck in cycles. They've normalized instant gratification while abandoning long-term vision. Breaking this cycle requires awareness, strategy, and above all, consistency. If you want a new life, you must craft habits that align with your new identity. Ask yourself, what does the future version of me do daily? What time do they wake up? What do they consume mentally and physically? How do they handle setbacks? Then reverse engineer that life by creating habits that reinforce that version of you, because habits aren't just something you do, they're who you become. Destruction of old habits is often painful because those habits have become your emotional crutches. You smoke because it calms you. You procrastinate because it protects you from failure. You eat poorly because it gives momentary relief. But growth begins the moment you stop choosing comfort over character. Your excuses may feel justified, but they don't build anything. Only habits do. Changing habits doesn't happen through motivation. It happens through systems. Waiting to feel like it is a trap. The future is created by what you schedule, not what you hope. Design your day like your destiny depends on it, because it does. If you don't control your habits will control you. And if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always gotten. Environment also matters. You cannot heal in the same space that made you sick. If your old habits were reinforced by certain people, places, or triggers, you must either eliminate or rewire those. Your environment must support your habits, or your habits will collapse under pressure. Protect your energy. Design your space with intention, because a great habit in a toxic environment is like planting roses in concrete. It won't last. Every day you are building something, either a life of power or a life of passivity. There is no neutral. Your habits are bricks, and each decision is a choice to build up or tear down. The person you're becoming is shaped not by your dreams, but by your discipline. If you want a radical shift, you must create a radical routine, one built on discipline, clarity, and commitment. The death of old habits is the foundation of rebirth. When you stop choosing what is easy and start choosing what is essential, you start rising. When you refuse to be ruled by laziness, emotion, or external validation, your life begins to shift. Old habits may feel comfortable, but they build cages. New habits may feel hard, but they build kingdoms. And the key to your next level lies in what you do daily, not occasionally, but relentlessly. Rebirth is never clean, it is raw, it is messy, and above all, it is painful. But that pain is not a punishment, it is a price. A sacred transaction between who you were and who you are becoming. Just like a body must go through intense pressure to build strength, the soul must endure pain to evolve. Without pain, there is no death of the old self. Without pain, there is no awakening of the new. Most people fear pain because they misunderstand its purpose. They see it as something to avoid, not something to embrace. But pain is not your enemy, it is your instructor. It teaches what comfort hides, it reveals what distraction masks. Pain forces you to confront the parts of yourself you've ignored, suppressed, or denied, and it's in that confrontation that real change begins. Every transformation story begins with a moment of suffering, a heartbreak, a failure, a betrayal, a breakdown, and in those moments you are cracked open. The identity you once clung to starts to fall apart. It hurts, yes, but that hurt is the beginning of healing. That pain is the fire that burns the illusions, clears the path, and creates space for your higher self to emerge. We live in a world that glorifies happiness and numbs discomfort. We reach for quick fixes, instant distractions, and artificial highs to escape even the smallest emotional sting. But you cannot medicate your way into transformation. You cannot bypass the pain and expect the gift. Rebirth demands that you sit in the fire, feel every emotion, and let it carve new depth into your soul. There is a sacred pain in letting go of toxic relationships, of dead-end jobs, of old identities that once served you but now stunt you. There is grief in growth. There is loss in liberation. But that grief is necessary, because only through grieving who you were can you honor who you are becoming. Do not rush the process. Let the pain do its work. Let it break what must be broken. Pain is the purifier. It removes the unnecessary, strips away the false, and refines what's real. It humbles the ego. It quiets the noise. It forces you inward. And in that inner stillness, you begin to hear the whispers of your true self. That voice was always there, but the volume of your comfort drowned it out. Pain lowers the volume of the world so the truth inside you can speak. Think of the phoenix. It must burn to ashes before it can rise. There is no rebirth without destruction. So when your life feels like it's falling apart, when everything you depended on begins to crumble, understand, this is not the end. This is the in-between. This is the dark womb of becoming. Pain signals that the old has expired and something new is being born, even if you can't see it yet. Avoiding pain only delays transformation. When you resist the discomfort of change, you remain stuck in patterns that quietly destroy you. But when you embrace the pain, when you lean into the discomfort, you begin to take back control. You begin to move forward, not despite the pain, but because of it. Pain becomes your fuel, not your fear. Those who rise are not those who feel no pain. They are those who use it. They take the suffering, the wounds, the scars, and alchemize them into strength. They let the pain teach them, stretch them, and sharpen them. Each lesson paid for in agony becomes a stepping stone toward purpose. Pain is the currency of growth, and those who spend it wisely are reborn into power. So if you are in pain right now, understand this: it is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of rebirth. You are shedding, evolving, dissolving. You are in the sacred fire where the old you dies, and the true you begins to awaken. Let it hurt, let it burn, let it refine you, because on the other side of that pain is a version of you that only the fire could reveal. The ego is loud, proud, and constantly craving validation. It thrives on identity, control, and comparison. But purpose is quiet, sacred, and rooted in service. It does not shout, it whispers. And to hear it, you must first silence the ego. That is why the ego must die for your true purpose to awaken. As long as the ego is in control, you will chase recognition instead of meaning, status instead of alignment, and applause instead of authenticity. The ego clings to the idea of who you think you should be, rather than who you truly are. It's shaped by external voices, society's expectations, cultural conditioning, childhood programming. It says, be successful so others will approve. Be perfect so you won't be judged. Stay in control so you won't be hurt. But these are illusions, and illusions keep you trapped in performance, not in purpose. When the ego leads, you measure your worth by titles, likes, followers, money, and attention. You chase a version of success that's performative, not fulfilling. You create a persona instead of stepping into your soul. But purpose has nothing to prove. Purpose isn't about how you appear, it's about how you impact. It's not about impressing others. It's about expressing truth, and the ego cannot hold both truth and image at the same time. The death of the ego is terrifying. It feels like losing control, like being stripped of identity, like stepping naked into the unknown. And in many ways it is, but it is also liberation, because when the ego dies, the pressure to pretend dies with it. You no longer have to wear masks, meet false expectations, or live for approval. You begin to live from the inside out, not the outside in. To awaken your purpose, you must get brutally honest. Ask yourself, who am I when no one is watching? What would I do if I didn't need validation? What matters more, how I look or how I live? These questions will challenge the ego, but they will stir the soul. They will awaken the deeper part of you that knows you were born for more than status, more than applause. You were born for impact. The ego thrives in comparison. It looks left and right, always measuring. Am I ahead? Am I behind? But purpose doesn't compete, it collaborates. Purpose is not about being the best in the world, but being the most aligned version of yourself. When you let the ego drive, you will always feel behind. But when you lead with purpose, you become timeless. You stop racing others and start rising in your own lane. Ego resists growth because growth requires humility. It requires admitting you don't have it all figured out, that you still have blind spots, that there is more to learn and more to release. Ego wants certainty. Purpose requires surrender. And only when you surrender the need to be seen a certain way can you become who you're truly meant to be. You'll know your ego is dying when silence feels safer than performance, when truth feels better than applause, and when authenticity matters more than attention. You'll feel it when you stop proving and start aligning. When you stop trying to be someone and start trying to become. This is not weakness, it's wisdom, because ego builds castles that crumble, but purpose builds legacies that last. Releasing the ego is not about becoming small, it's about becoming real. It's about letting go of the false to embody the eternal. The version of you that lives for ego will always be fragile, always needing validation, always fearing rejection. but the version of you aligned with purpose becomes unshakable. Because purpose is not built on perception, it's built on truth. So the next level of your life will not be accessed by more ego, but by less, not by performing more loudly, but by listening more deeply. Ego will scream for attention, but your purpose will wait patiently until you're quiet enough to hear it. The question is, are you willing to let the ego die so your real life, the life of impact, truth, and alignment, can finally begin? Your environment is not neutral. It either nourishes your growth or suffocates it. Just like a plant can only thrive in the right soil, your potential can only flourish in a space that supports your elevation. No matter how strong your vision, how disciplined your habits, or how powerful your intentions, if the environment around you is stagnant, toxic, or misaligned, it will quietly sabotage your progress. Elevation requires atmosphere, and sometimes to rise, you must relocate. Mentally, emotionally, socially, or even physically. We often underestimate the influence of our surroundings. The people we spend time with, the conversations we engage in, the energy of our home, our workspaces, the content we consume, all of these shape the frequency we operate on. If you're surrounded by low energy people who gossip, complain, and doubt, their mindset will bleed into yours. You may not notice it at first, but over time it erodes your clarity, dims your ambition, and lowers your standard of living. Comfortable environments are often the most dangerous, not because they actively pull you down, but because they passively keep you the same. Familiarity creates complacency. When your environment no longer challenges you, inspires you, or pushes you, it becomes a spiritual lullaby. You stop striving, you stop dreaming, and you start settling. You convince yourself that this is good enough, and not realizing that your greatness is being quietly buried under routine. To elevate, you must ask hard questions about your current surroundings. Who in your life stretches your thinking? Who challenges your excuses? Who reflects the future you're trying to build? If no one in your circle does that, you're not in a circle. You're in a cage. And no matter how much inner work you do, a stagnant outer environment will eventually drag you back to old patterns. The shift in environment doesn't always mean cutting everyone off. Sometimes it means creating sacred space, carving out time and place where your vision can be nurtured. It could mean waking up earlier to meditate, limiting your social media, or transforming your room into a temple of growth. Other times it means physically leaving cities, jobs, homes, or relationships that no longer serve your calling. It's not about hate, it's about alignment. Elevation requires boundaries. If you allow everyone access to your energy, you'll end up drained and directionless. You must protect your peace like it's your most valuable currency, because it is. The environments that once felt normal may now feel too loud, too low, too limiting, and that's okay. It means your frequency has changed. Honor that shift. Don't dim your light to match the room. Find brighter rooms. There is a silent battle between your environment and your vision. Every time you try to think bigger, your environment either lifts you up or pulls you back. Every time you speak a bold idea, your surroundings either nurture it or poison it. This is not about blaming others. It's about becoming radically responsible for the energy you allow into your sacred space. You are not a victim of your environment. You are the architect of it. You cannot outgrow an environment that's designed to keep you small. It's like trying to build a skyscraper on sand. The foundation won't hold. Your dreams require structure, support, and intentional design. That means surrounding yourself with people who have walked the path, who challenge you to rise, who remind you of your power when you forget. Elevation is lonely at first, but over time, it attracts others who resonate with the same frequency. The hardest part of changing environments is the emotional weight. You may have to distance yourself from friends who once felt like family. You may need to say goodbye to communities that gave you belonging, even if they now bring stagnation. But growth is not betrayal, it's becoming. And if people truly love the real you, they'll support the elevation, even if it means distance for a while. Environment is not just where you live, it's everything that lives around you. Your elevation is not just a product of effort, it's a product of atmosphere. If you truly want to rise, you must aud it everything around you, your spaces, your relationships, your habits, your inputs. And then, you must make the bold, often uncomfortable decision to shift what no longer aligns, because you cannot fly while anchored. You cannot evolve while surrounded by what keeps you the same. Your environment must match your intention, or it will mute your transformation before it ever begins. Too many people live as prisoners of their past, believing that the mistakes, failures, trauma, or labels they've carried somehow define their worth or limit their future. But here's the truth. Your past is a chapter, not the whole book. It may have shaped your perspective, but it does not own your identity. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become next. Your power lies not in rewriting the past, but in taking the pen today and scripting a new path forward. Our memories are powerful. They hold emotion, attachment, meaning, and often we replay them over and over, especially the painful ones, until they begin to feel like a permanent part of us. But memory is not destiny, it's a lens, not a law. The past only has the power you continue to give it. When you constantly relive your worst moments, you become loyal to an identity you should have already outgrown. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to outgrow the person you once were. That version of you did the best they could with what they knew, but you have more awareness now, more tools, more strength. And most importantly, more choice. You don't owe the past version of yourself anything. Accept gratitude for surviving. Now it's time to shift from surviving to designing. The architect of your becoming is not buried in yesterday, it is activated by what you decide today. Many people confuse accountability with identity. They think that acknowledging a broken past means wearing it as a badge forever. But healing is not about labeling yourself broken or damaged. It's about acknowledging the cracks while committing to rebuild. Yes, you may have been abandoned, underestimated, or abused, but those were events. They are not who you are. Who you are is who you decide to be, despite it all. The most powerful transformation begins when you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can I become because of this?" When you shift from victimhood to authorship, you reclaim your agency. You become the one holding the pen, not your pain, not your past, not the people who hurt you. You begin to write a narrative rooted in resilience, not repetition. You become a conscious creator, not a passive character. There is nothing more dangerous to your transformation than a fixed identity. When you say things like, "I've always been this way," "This is just who I am," or "People like me don't change," you're reinforcing a prison with your own words. But identity is fluid. It can be reimagined, reshaped, reborn. The past may have named you weak, unworthy, or invisible, but you are free to rename yourself at any time, and the new name doesn't need permission from your past. Healing doesn't erase history. It transforms your relationship with it. It gives you the power to look at your story without shame and to say, "That happened, but it no longer defines me." When you reclaim authorship, you stop living life as a reaction and start living as a design. You stop waking up waiting for life to change, and you start becoming the change yourself. That is freedom. That is rebirth. Letting go of your past doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means choosing not to live from it. It means extracting the lessons, honoring the journey, and then moving forward. Lighter, wiser, and more intentional. You are not here to repeat history. You are here to break cycles. You are here to rewrite what was passed down to you. You are here to show that the story can change when the author decides to rise. Even the scars you carry have purpose. They are not signs of weakness. They are reminders of survival. They tell you where you've been, but they don't dictate where you're going. Every scar is proof that you healed. Every lesson is proof that you lived, and every decision you make now is a vote toward who you are becoming. So choose power, choose peace, choose the version of you that your past never imagined could exist. Because at the end of the day, you are not your mistakes, you are not your trauma, you are not your upbringing, your heartbreaks, or your darkest days. You are the author of your becoming. And the story you are writing now today, in this moment, is more powerful than anything that ever happened to you. The question is not what the past has written. The question is, what will you write next? True transformation is not just about changing behaviors. It is about shifting the soul, and the soul cannot grow while it is clenched in control. Spiritual growth does not happen through force, pride, or resistance. It happens through surrender, not the kind of surrender that signals defeat, but the sacred surrender that signals trust, a trust in something greater than the ego, a trust in divine timing, a trust that letting go is sometimes the most powerful thing you can do. In a world obsessed with hustle and control, surrender feels unnatural. We're taught to push, to grind, to chase, but there comes a point in your spiritual journey when striving no longer works, where your old strategies begin to fail. Where your willpower, no matter how strong, starts to crack. That's the invitation, not to give up, but to give in, to release the need to control outcomes and instead align with your deeper truth. Surrender is not passive. It is one of the most active forms of faith. It's standing in uncertainty and still choosing peace. It's saying, I don't know how this will unfold, but I trust that it will. It's no longer needing to micromanage life, but opening your hands and your heart to receive what is meant for you, not what your ego demands. This is the space where spiritual growth truly begins, where the soul becomes the guide and the ego takes a seat. Internal surrender means releasing your need to be right. It means releasing judgment of others and yourself. It means letting go of the expectations you've placed on life, on people, and on outcomes. It's softening where you've been hardened. It's forgiving where you've been holding on. It's understanding that control is not the path to peace. Connection is. Connection to your highest self, connection to the present moment. Connection to a source beyond logic. You cannot fake surrender. It must be embodied. It shows up in the way you breathe through tension, the way you listen when your spirit whispers no, the way you stay grounded when life tests your patience. Surrender means allowing space for the unknown to work its magic, because the truth is, spiritual growth does not thrive in certainty, it thrives in the unknown. The unknown is not your enemy, it's your sacred teacher. Many people fear surrender because they associate it with weakness, but real surrender is strength. It is the courage to stop forcing, stop clinging, stop pretending. It is a spiritual maturity that says, I trust the process more than I trust my pressure. That kind of surrender opens portals. It brings clarity, it invites grace, it replaces anxiety with alignment, and slowly, a deeper wisdom begins to rise. The journey of spiritual growth will ask you to release what you thought you needed. It will ask you to detach from the identities you've outgrown. It will ask you to stop chasing the external and instead nurture the internal. Surrender is the bridge between your current self and your higher self. It clears the noise so that your intuition can finally speak clearly and be heard. When you stop resisting life, you begin flowing with it. That's the secret. Spiritual growth doesn't happen in resistance. It happens in resonance. When you surrender, you begin to feel the rhythm of life again. You notice signs, synchronicities, patterns. You become more present, more compassionate, more attuned. Life begins to feel less like a battle and more like a dance, a sacred unfolding. And yes, there will be moments where surrender feels impossible, moments where fear grips tighter than faith. But those are the exact moments when surrender matters most. Not when it's easy, but when it's hard. Not when you're calm, but when you're chaotic. That's when the soul is stretched. That's when the divine can finally move. Surrender is not about escaping the storm, it's about remembering who you are within it. So ask yourself gently but honestly, What are you still trying to control? What would happen if you released the grip? What new growth, peace, or clarity might rise if you stopped resisting and simply surrendered to the unfolding of your higher path? Because spiritual growth is not a climb, it's a release. And the more you let go internally, the more your soul is free to rise. There can be no true transformation without truth. And not the kind of truth that's sugar-coated, filtered, or convenient, but the raw, unfiltered truth that demands you look at yourself without distortion. The new you, the higher, stronger, more aligned version of yourself, cannot rise on the back of delusion. It requires ruthless self-honesty, brutal introspection, a willingness to confront everything you've been avoiding, excusing, or lying to yourself about. This type of honesty is not comfortable. It's not the kind you post about on social media or talk about with casual friends. It's the kind that happens late at night when you're alone with your thoughts, when the masks are off, when you ask yourself, what am I still pretending not to know? What truth have I buried because it's too painful to face? What behaviors have I justified that are quietly destroying me? We all carry blind spots, parts of ourselves we hide from others, but more dangerously, from ourselves. These blind spots are the cracks where self-sabotage breeds. They are rooted in fear, ego, and unresolved pain. But you cannot heal what you won't face, and the person you are becoming, the one you speak about, visualize, pray for, cannot be built on denial. The new self demands clarity, and clarity begins with truth. Ruthless self-honesty is an act of courage. It's choosing to face the discomfort of your own contradictions, saying you want discipline while clinging to chaos, saying you want success while tolerating mediocrity, saying you want love while refusing to heal. It's exposing your own hypocrisy not to shame yourself, but to free yourself, because when you finally see the pattern, you gain the power to change it. Honesty is not self-abuse. It's not about tearing yourself down or bathing in guilt. It's about responsibility. It's the difference between saying, "Why does this always happen to me?" and asking, "What choices am I making that lead me here?" One question keeps you powerless, the other returns your authority. The most powerful people are not perfect. They are self-aware. They know their triggers, their shadows, their tendencies, and they own them. You don't grow by protecting your ego. You grow by dismantling it. Every excuse, every story you tell to make yourself feel safe, every reason you give for why you haven't changed yet, that is your ego defending its territory. But the truth sets fire to those stories. It may sting at first, it may shake your identity, but eventually it sets you free. You stop performing and start transforming. Self-honesty requires solitude. It's hard to hear your inner truth when you're constantly distracted or surrounded by noise. Sometimes you need to unplug from the world to plug into yourself, sit in silence, journal your truth, ask yourself hard questions, and then sit with the answers without trying to fix or fight them. Let them breathe. Let them hurt. Let them guide you to what needs to change. You must be willing to be wrong about yourself. That's one of the highest forms of maturity. Maybe you're not as disciplined as you thought. Maybe you've been blaming others for things you chose. Maybe you're not showing up fully even though you say you are. Accepting these truths is painful, but it's also powerful. Because once you see what's real, you can begin to build something new, something grounded in authenticity, not illusion. The new you is not just a shinier version of the old you. It's a completely restructured being. And to create that, you need the blueprint of truth, not fantasy, not filtered hope, but truth. That's the foundation you build on. And yes, it may mean tearing down everything that was built on false beliefs, codependent tendencies, or outdated versions of success. But what rises in its place will be solid, sacred, and real. So look in the mirror, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally. Ask, what needs to die in me so that the real me can rise? And when the answers come, when the truth presents itself, don't run, don't resist, listen, accept, adjust, because the new you cannot rise without the truth. And truth, when honored, becomes the bridge between who you were and who you were born to be. The idea of transformation often gets romanticized, as if becoming your highest self is a single moment of awakening or one massive breakthrough. But true rebirth is not a cinematic event. It's a daily decision. It's a choice made over and over again in the quiet spaces of your routine, in the discipline of your habits, and in the way you respond when life tests your resolve. The most powerful metamorphosis happens not in the spotlight, but in the shadows of daily repetition. Each day you wake up, you're standing at a fork in the road. Will you honor your future self, or will you default back into the comfort of your past self? Rebirth isn't loud. It doesn't always come with applause. It's subtle and disciplined. It's getting out of bed when you want to sleep in. It's choosing water over escape. It's choosing self-respect over instant pleasure. These decisions compound. Over time, they shape who you become, not just what you do, but how you think, speak, and see the world. So many people wait for some perfect moment, to start over, to become new. They wait for the new year, for the heartbreak to end, for the money to come, or for the pain to pass. But the truth is, there is no magical starting line. The new you doesn't begin on a calendar date. It begins the moment you say enough. I choose different. And then you choose different again tomorrow, and the day after that. That's how rebirth works. It's a commitment to the becoming. Rebirth doesn't mean you never fall back. It means you fall back with awareness and rise again with purpose. You will slip into old patterns. You will hear the familiar voices of doubt and fear. That's normal, but rebirth means you recognize them sooner. You don't stay stuck as long. You realign. You recommit. That recommitment is where the power lies, not in perfection, but in persistence. You are not one decision away from becoming someone new. You are hundreds of decisions away, thousands. Rebirth requires consistent courage, not a single courageous act. It's like building a new muscle. One workout won't transform your body. One affirmation won't rewrite your subconscious. One apology won't rebuild your character. But consistency, that's where rebirth breathes. That's where momentum is born. There will be days where you don't feel like changing, where the old you is louder, where temptation calls louder than purpose, and on those days your job is not to be flawless, but to be intentional. To pause and remember who you're becoming. To say, even if I fail today, I won't quit on my becoming. That's the mindset of someone who understands that rebirth is a daily grind, not a divine gift dropped into your lap. Daily rebirth means shedding something each day. A limiting belief, a toxic thought, a useless habit, a destructive narrative, and in its place, planting something new. A thought that empowers, a habit that builds, a word that heals. The old you isn't destroyed in one strike, it's eroded through thousands of conscious actions that the new you takes with resolve. And just like erosion, you don't always notice the change until one day you wake up and realize you've become someone else. It's easy to be inspired for a moment. Inspiration is everywhere, but inspiration fades. Discipline and daily commitment, those are rare, and they are what rebirth demands. The path to becoming is paved with mornings you don't want to rise, nights you question your progress, and days you wonder if the work is even working. But still, you show up, still, you choose. That's the rebirth happening in real time. When you understand that rebirth is a process, not a performance, you begin to show yourself grace. You stop chasing a finish line that doesn't exist. You begin to embrace the process itself. You realize that the daily choice to rise, to show up, to try again, that is your transformation. That is your liberation. Not who you become at the end of the race, but who you become by simply choosing to keep going. Every sunrise offers you the chance to become a little newer. Every breath is an invitation to realign. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is this moment, when you decide, once again, to live as you're becoming, not your history. Rebirth is not a one-time miracle. It is a sacred, daily rebellion against everything that tries to keep you small. So now, as you stand at the threshold between who you've been and who you are becoming, understand this truth. Transformation is not for the faint of heart. It demands the death of comfort, the burial of old narratives, and the courage to rise from your own ashes, again and again. Your old self, no matter how familiar or safe it felt, cannot walk with you into your destiny. That version of you was built for survival, but the new you is being forged for greatness. There is no shortcut, no cheat code, just the fire of daily choices, the discipline of conscious action, and the unwavering decision to let go of what no longer serves your soul. Yes, you will be afraid. Yes, you will face resistance, but remember this: the pain of remaining the same will always outweigh the pain of change. If you are honest enough to admit it, so rise, not in a moment, but in the accumulation of moments. Rise in your mornings, rise in your silence, rise in your struggle, and know that every time you choose truth over illusion, purpose over comfort, and faith over fear, a part of your old self dies, and a more powerful, more aligned, more unstoppable you is born. Your rebirth is not coming, it's already happening, right now. The only question is, will you honor it? Will you water the new seeds you've planted? Will you be bold enough to let go of who you've been in order to become who you were always meant to be? Because the new you is not waiting out there in the future. The new you is already inside you, buried beneath layers of fear, doubt, and habit, and it is time to dig deep, to let go, to rise, not once, but every single day.